little echoey. All right. Peace, family. It's good. It's your brother Cool. Welcome to part two of the treaty series. So now I got some time. I can lay this part out. And then the finale will be the last 5 articles. So we're gonna make it to 20 today. Let me see here. Okay. And this thing is stuck. Okay. All right, fam. So let's just get right into it. Okay. So we're continuing from part 10. Sorry, Article 11, right? So remember from the previous video, I had both translations open. I had the translations that the United States holds, and I had the translation that was done by Dr. C. Schnook Horgunj of Leiden, who translated this thing from Arabic into English. All right, so I'm reading from both aspects so we can see where things were changed, but I still want us to get the original aspects of the treaty. So with that, let's go into the translation, starting from Article 11. Article 11. Article 11 states, here we are, Article 11, all right, is that if we are at war with any Christian nation, and we shall be in a port, and our ship intends to sail out of the port, and a ship of the enemy intends to pursue her, her being the ship, the latter shall not sail out in pursuit of her until 24 hours have elapsed. And likewise, ships of the Americans, if they are in a port during a war and they intend to sail out, no ship shall pursue her until 24 hours have elapsed, be they ships of the Mohammedans or of the Christians. All right? Then you see both aspects. Mohammedans and Christians. Now let's go back to the English translation. If we shall be at war with any Christian power, and any of our vessels sail from the ports of the United States, no vessel belonging to the enemy shall follow until 24 hours after the departure of our vessels, And the same regulation shall be observed towards the American vessels sailing from our ports, be their enemies Moors or Christians. This treaty is for two types of people, y'all. The way we treat Moors and the way we treat Christians. Either you're a Moor or you're a Christian. It's black and white like that. Okay. Now remember, we created the United States of America for the Christians. So the United States of America is their shit. However, what they adopted to create their shit came from what our ancestors created. So that's called copyrights. You understand? There's different ways you got to look at this thing. Copyrights, patents. You know what I'm saying? So, being that the treaty is the ultimate patent / copyright / lien / will that you claim, that you have to claim, you must confess with your own mouth to be a party of. And there's a lot of ill shit in this treaty that protects you in times of war, which the United States, since Abraham Lincoln was declared under General War Powers Act, 1861, y'all. Let's not forget that. Martial law is active. It's been active since 1863. Congress adjourned Sine Die in 1861, all right? So, I'm sorry, I'm tripping. 1861, that's when Lincoln came into office. So the same year the Civil War broke out, 1861, that's when Congress, which is us, adjourned Sine Die, without day. We adjourned, he never said when he was going to come back. And I'll be real with you, the brother who made it very, very clear for me, he didn't really go through all this extent, but in terms of the clarity, yo, Brother Seer is dope, man. And y'all need to check out all of his Superhero Sunday joints. Yo, I listened to all of them. And yo, this is a joint he was talking about 2012, man, 2014, like, come on, man. I'm just letting y'all know I'm not saying nothing new. This is nothing new. Taj hasn't been saying this ain't nothing new. Alim or any other Moorish brother, sister who's out here trying to just put out that work. I ain't saying nothing new besides we have a treaty, y'all. That's it. We're just analyzing it for the first time in a long time. All right. So let's go back to Article 11, right? So we understand what this is saying. In times of war, if we're in an enemy camp, if you post your shit in an enemy camp and there's war happening, like serious war, like outcry, outbreak in the streets type war, then when the military and the martial law and the military really start kicking in with all the gear and shit like that, and the Negroes start taking to the streets because they have no knowledge of self, they're going to be running order. The people who have no knowledge of self are going to be in a state of chaos. But the agents and agencies, they know exactly what to do. They got a game plan together. They're not disorganized. They're prepared for the disorganization. That's why it's important to organize. All right? So understand that y'all just gonna have to see it. I could say what it's gonna look like, but y'all just gonna have to see it. Because when the prophet was like, we're gonna be walking by and we're gonna want to go into places and you're gonna see men with like heavy gear on, with arms on, and they're gonna be like, no, not today, keep it pushing. You ever thought to wonder when he made that statement, where was everyone else at? Right. Okay. So 24 hours, y'all. 6, equality. You got 24 hours. Even in times of war, you got 24 hours after you depart. You know why? Because after that 24 hours, now that port can no longer be held liable for what happens to you. They did their part. They made sure that you were safe 24 hours after that point, anything happened to you is out of their hands. They're no longer liable. Okay? That's what that means. Now, 12th article is that if a warship shall put into any of our ports, she shall not be examined, but shall remain left to herself. And if there should be a fugitive prisoner on board her, she shall not be brought ashore by compulsion, nor shall the governor of the dominion where the ship stops. Meaning, like, what if this ship happens? What if you're carrying a fugitive, right? Running from the law. Let's say it's a U.S. citizen running from the law, or someone pretending to be a U.S. citizen who hasn't declared themselves running from the law. And they're in your conveyance. You have no clue of this such, but they're in your conveyance. What if they're traveling and as you're passing through the ports of so-called Washington, so-called California, so-called Arkansas, so-called Nevada, so-called Utah, so-called New York, so-called Connecticut, so-called Florida, you know what I'm saying? So-called Louisiana, so-called Michigan, so-called Minnesota. As you're passing through all of these ports have a substitute bay that is holding dominion over that fictitious corporate territory, or I should say area. That person is called a governor. They're in charge of, or they're liable for what takes place, or who or what takes place, and who it's done to within their jurisdiction, within their dominions. Okay? It's like you having a guest over your house. Until the guest leaves your home, if anything happens to your guests, you are held liable. They're in your domain. All right. So if it's holding a fugitive, should not be forced to unload or give up the fugitive. That right there is just letting you see how far the reach of protection goes. How far it stretches. As far as protection. Damn, protection that far? Even if I got a fugitive? Not to say you should. Not to say you should. But if shit happens to someone that snuck onto your vehicle, unbeknownst to you, crazy things happen in life, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm just saying, somebody may claim to be one thing and then be another thing. So, you got to be careful around your Moors. All right? You got to be careful. You always got to keep your eyes open all times. You got to be careful to make sure everyone's accountable. All right? So, read through Article 12. Let me read it again just to make sure. If a warship shall put into any of our ports, she shall not be examined, but shall remain left to herself. And if there should be a fugitive prisoner on board her, she shall not be brought ashore by compulsion, nor shall the governor of the dominion where the ship stops demand from the commander of the ship the price of that prisoner. You know, a commander of a ship isn't subject, right? The commander isn't the slave of the ship. The commander is the master. So as you can see, when you're in your proper person and you're operating through your trust, operating through your deed of trust, establishing and putting your property in the name of your trust, including all of your vessels, then you're functioning as a commander, not as someone who is under the privilege of utilizing a conveyance. Meaning, now this is where all the rules kick in. If a cop feel like messing with you because you're underneath their jurisdiction, they can mess with you. No reason at all, just because they just had a bad morning or something like that. There's no laws or consequence to check them, to be like, nah. Better check myself. Nah. Don't want to do that. Not with these folks. You see what I'm saying? That's what it means. Okay? The 13th article is without any important difference from the translation of 1786. Cool. So we're going to go back here. We already read 12, right? 13. If a ship of war of either party shall put into a port of the other and salute, it shall be returned from the fort, with an equal number of guns, not with more or less. So this is really a treaty of friendship, and we're just trying to maintain peace. We don't want no wars. We don't want no wars. We ain't got problems with y'all Moors. We ain't got problems. Thank y'all for granting to us your dominions so we could do commerce and we could build our economy to the point of where it has reached today. Thank you, Moors. We don't want no problems with y'all. We're going to set everything up just like how your ancestors had it set up. All you got to do is just kick it in. All you got to do is just activate, kick in the trust, activate the treaty, and everything is yours. Everything you seek in the kingdom of heaven will be rewarded unto you because you were heir, because you made the claim. You got heart. You got the heart. It's all a mental game, y'all. It's all a mental game. Let's go to 14. Go to 14 over here. Now, 14 states, the commerce, right here, the commerce of the merchants shall be on the same footing as that of the Spaniards, and they shall be honored and go in the towns and seaports where they like, without anybody bothering them. And they shall be like the most favored nation with us for the time being. What part of that is nobody missing? What's up with the 14th article? 14th article is pretty popping to me. 14th article sounds like you were treated like, yo, you're the most favored nation. So if you go into any port, meaning any town, any so-called county, any so-called city, according to who you are and how you're functioning, right? Look at this. The commerce of the merchants shall be on the same footing as that of the Spaniards. And they shall be honored and go into towns and seaports where they like, without anybody bothering them. And they shall be like the most favored nation with us for the time being. That sounds like the red carpet treatment to me. So that means that wherever I go and I'm in my natural habit, I'm recognized according to my treaty. You got to set yourself up so that way people know who you are. One way is to be in your natural habit. I went to the food bank the other day. No, this was yesterday. I went to the food bank yesterday, and an Asian lady. I was on my way out, and she stopped me. She was like, "Excuse me." She's like, "What does that hat mean? Where is it from?" I said, "Well, this is my fez. This is my national headdress." And she said, "Okay, what country? What country is it from?" So she asked me, I said, "Oh, what country?" I said, "Right here, North America. It's from right here in North America, specifically Coral Supe, in South America, Peru, dating back 2600 BCE. You know what I'm saying?" So she was like, "Oh, okay. Thank you for the knowledge. I'm glad I know. Now I know." So it seemed like she was searching for something, or maybe she saw something in her travels. But it's just that energy of who you are, and when you come in that, people will know you. Okay, people will know you. So, oh, and then I also had to give the sister a breakdown. The Moabites, when I walked in there, I saw she asked me first. So I told her straight up. I was like, well, because she's like, is this a Shriner's hat? You know what I'm saying? And I was like, nah, this is not a Shriner's hat. This hat go back 2600 BCE in Coral Supe, the oldest civilization known today in America. And what you'll find is our ancestors carving on the wall, broad nose, thick lips, got beautiful locks coming down their back, with this crown on the top of their head, with 3 boxes in the form of a pyramid. So I'm like, this has got everything to do with bloodline. That's what I told her. I said, this is everything to do with bloodline. This has nothing to do with, organization. No disrespect to the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1928, but it's an organization. You see what I'm saying? The Prophet Drew Ali established organization for us so we can be organized. All right. In order to get people organized, you need organization. All right. So that being said, no disrespect, but it's a bloodline thing. Our history goes way further. It goes so damn far back. We would have to stop the conversation at some point because people would just not comprehend. So with that being said, be yourself. Now, see here. 14th article. You already know what that statement. No, you ain't gonna be bothered no matter where you at. 15th article is that the merchants shall pursue their business. What? See, because y'all forgot that this is a treaty of amity and commerce. So we are talking about not only how we're treated civilly, but we're also talking about our rights commercially, doing business, which equates to economics, which equates to financial security. Ain't that what everybody looking for? Y'all been overlooking y'all treaty. Business. What do they say to everyone? You need to be an entrepreneur. You need to have your own business. Right? You need to have your own business. The prophet said we need to be industrious. That would mean to me that we need to start having our own businesses. And seeing that we have our own businesses, we can align our businesses to our treaty, right? And so now we can do commerce, because a lot of people talk about the mark of the beast, right, which is the social. But you don't talk about the seal of Solomon, which is that he has an eye to see things. So understanding that he has an eye to see things, there's another way of doing things. Rather than utilizing the mark of the beast, you utilize your private ancestral trust that is connected to your treaty, which has a tax identification number that's on a zero master file. No tax, no liens can be placed upon it. It's zero. It's perfect. It means you got a perfect business credit score. Perfect. Let's continue. The 15th article is that the merchants, I'm right here, y'all. The 15th article is that the merchants shall pursue their business, and if they wish to employ assistants or interpreters, they shall be free to do so. No cargo shall be transported from one ship into another, and no ship shall be detained in the port. And if they wish to employ people to assist them in matters concerning the cargo or otherwise, they shall not have to pay more than other nations used to pay before them. So let's go through that one more time. Let's break that down. Merchants shall pursue their business, right? And if they wish, in the pursuit of their business, they wish to what? Start employing some help. You know what I'm saying? Hey, brother. Hey, cousin. I know you're making shirts, or I know you're doing this, I know you're doing that. I got a business. I need you to bring your genius over here. You know what I'm saying? So we can build this. Start employing assistants, interpreters. You shall be free to do so. You don't need anyone's permission. It's called contract, y'all. Private contract. That means if you have an institution, you have an organization, you have a business, you have a business as an indigenous person, then operate as such. Why not have a private contract between you and your employees? Because all law, Allah, arm, leg, arm, head, all law, ALLLAW, is contract law. So if you have a contract between you and your employee stating, hey, you promise to commit yourself to these obligations, finish these tasks, and then I as the employer or whatever promise to pay you so and so or compensate you so and so. Sign contract. So if anybody renege, you take their ass to court. That's how it go. That's how it go. You use the law to keep everybody back straight. Even your own family. All right? Especially your own family. So, let's go deeper. Now, no cargo shall be transported from one ship into another. Okay? No cargo shall be transported from one ship into another. That means that the vessels you have, you know what I'm saying? When you're about to load up and go do a task, don't be suspicious. Don't be loading in from one thing to the next. Why would you need to jump in and out of different ships, right? Moving cargo, okay? And cargo can be anything of value in the car, including people. It depends on the people who are operating that vessel, what they consider the cargo, okay? So why would you want to jump ship and keep jumping from different jurisdictions when you're already being protected in your inherent jurisdiction underneath your treaty? So there's no need to jump from ship to ship, is what they're saying. Meaning, if this is your vessel, rock out with your vessel. Don't make it confusing. Let this be your vessel. Let it be in the name of your envoy or your organization or your trust or your government or your empire, all one and the same. Or your state or your person or your entity, all one and the same. Everything I just said, they're all one and the same. No difference. Okay? So no need to jump ship. Don't be switching. Don't be flip-flopping. Okay? Now, no cargo shall be transported from one ship into another, and no ship shall be detained in the port. No ship shall be detained in the port. And if they wish to employ people to assist them in matters concerning the cargo, or otherwise, they shall not have to pay more than other nations use to pay before them. So essentially, what this is saying, okay, is that let's go out the box. Let's say if you were to employ a U.S. citizen, right? Let's say you have an indigenous limousine service. I'm just trying to make this in a way everyone can comprehend. Let's say you have an indigenous limousine service, right? Now, the only way, right, that you can, now everyone has a right to contract. You can contract freely with whomever you deem fit. If you contract with a U.S. citizen, private contract, okay, you still protect yourself, all right? And what it's saying is that, irregardless, now, if you have a private contract with that citizen in terms of doing a certain function, like driving you from point A to point B, but let's say they're not a beneficiary or a party to the trust, they still won't be detained because they're still underneath the protection as long as they are employed underneath your organization. Okay? It means they're working. So remember now, all law is contract law, yeah? All law is contract law. Now, and this is no different. When I was growing up, I used to work under the table all the time. I used to work under the table all the time growing up. Had an agreement. All right, I get paid so and so per hour. I work 30 hours a week. This is what I'm expected to get paid. It was simple. It was A and B thing. Here's a time for me to show up. I show up. Here's a time for me to leave. I leave. I do that repeatedly. At the end of the week, I get a check. That's part of the agreement. But they call that under the table. That was private. That was operating into the private. They called it operating underneath the table. You know, to try to give it like a bad connotation to it. No, it's just being private. You were operating in the private sector. You know why? Because what you got paid is what you got paid. There was no third parties taking taxes and stuff like that. It was an A and B agreement. Service. Okay? Private wages is what that is called. Okay? So that's how our ancestors always used to do it. What they call under the table. It's just being honorable in your contracts. So see, once we're a majority and we know how to contract with each other, there really is no need for a middleman. Is what that's saying. You are free to contract as you please, as long as you know how to read and draw up your own contracts. L, law writer. All right, 16. Oh, here we go. Yeah, 16. Oh, let me read the 15th article version of that here. Merchants of both countries shall employ only such interpreters and such other persons to assist them in their business as they shall think proper. No commander of a vessel shall transport his cargo on board another vessel. He shall not be detained in port longer than he may think proper, and all persons employed in loading or unloading goods or in any other labor whatever shall be paid at the customary rates, not more and not less. Okay? What's number 16 saying now? Let's see here. The 16th article has been well rendered in all essentials in the translation of 1786, but the words are not to be made slaves are not in the original, and the Mexican dollar is represented in Arabic by royal only. All right. So now let's go to 16th article. In case of a war between the parties, the prisoners are not to be made slaves, but to be exchanged one for another. In case of a war between the parties, this is Article 16 now. In case of a war between the parties, the prisoners are not to be made slaves, but to be exchanged one for another, captain for captain, officer for officer, and one private man for another. I wonder who the private man is. And if there shall prove a deficiency in either side, it shall be made up by the payment of 100 Mexican dollars or royals for each person wanting it, and is agreed that all prisoners shall be exchanged in 12 months from the time of being taken, and that this exchange may be effected by a merchant or any other person authorized by either of the parties. Now, when you're being taken underneath your straw name, you're being taken as a slave. Okay? When you stand on your square and you present yourself in your proper person, you are not a slave, you are a prisoner. Big difference. Prisoner being that you have a nation that you come from, okay? That you have allegiance to. So there's a big difference between being a prisoner of war and being a slave, which is what we truly are. We are prisoners of war, right? This is war. We are prisoners of war. Well, until we wake up and get ourselves correct. Other than that, we are slaves, meaning we are property. Okay? Now, prisoners of war, why are we prisoners of war? Well, because we are under occupation currently. If you didn't realize, we are currently under Christian power occupation because we've been asleep for a very, very long time after beefing with each other and going to war with each other and killing each other and weakening our own weakening our own defenses against foreigners. We did that to ourselves. We killed our own infrastructure. You know what I'm saying? So now that we're back awake now we can put things back in proper balance and proper perspective. But in order to do that, our mind got to be right. And we got to know who we are and what we did in the past and what we're going to do now and tomorrow. We got to know these things. Okay? So, and this is why our ancestors left monuments, archaeological things for us to look in awe, congressional records and documents so we can go back to read and be like, okay, this is what happened back then, and this is how it's affecting us today. A lot of people don't read back then to be able to see how it's affecting us today. When I go and read documents, I'm looking at how they relate to today. And maybe because I'm looking for that, that's why, it comes to me, but that's what I'm looking for. How does it relate today? How can we use it today? What good is this treaty if it's the world's longest lasting treaty, but we don't know how to use it? That's stupid. That's silly, and that's also irresponsible on our part. All right? So, now, like I said, from being taken, when you are not stateless, and let's say things happen, when you are not stateless, people will come for you in a proper way where they can come and retrieve you because you are a part of their nation. Now, if no one comes for you, you essentially been abandoned for that time period. It's a tough pill to swallow, but that's what it is. Because when you're in a nation, no man leaves another man behind. Okay? So, can't abandon your own. You got to go out there and get them. Okay? By any means necessary, and then go after your grievances later in what is called a class action suit. And that is what the injunction, which was filed in Washington on behalf of Sunel against Jay Inslee doing business as the governor of the state of Washington. Injunction, we filed it as a class action suit. It's not just one individual, it's a class of people who have a particular bloodline that resonates with this continent that they have a right to claim. That's the power of a class action suit. The more energies you have, the more power you can put into that cannon before you bang. You know what I'm saying? Let that shit go. Okay? And why I'm saying that is when you file your class action suits, aka the injunction, you won't have to worry about people being taken. Now, also in alignment with the injunction, everyone has to be lined up all the way right. That means from national identification all the way to federal identification, meaning passport. And if you don't have a passport and you're working your way to the passport, but you're doing commerce with the state instrument, the state ID instrument, or the state driver's license instrument, then you need to be lined up. And that needs to be congruent with what you filed on the record. And also you need to be in your natural habit when you're taking your photo. So you must always be in the exercise of your religious freedoms. That's how you use your deed of trust to protect you, aka that's how you use your religion to protect you. Okay? I know that was a lot. Okay? Okay. 17. Let me see something. Definitely going to need me a munch on sun after this one. Oh wow, brother Quavi, I had no idea, man. Um, man, yo, like I said, man, when we're not in a proper person all the way around, it doesn't mean if you're in your proper person, but then you're traveling in vessels that are not known or aren't aligned to who you are and what you're operating as, then you're gonna be liable to mistreatment. All right, you can't be a free man, but you're operating their property. Even if it's your friend's car, it's not your friend's car, it's the state's car. So if you're a Muslim and you're about to get and operate your so-called friend's car or family member's car, and you know damn well your family members pretending to be a United States citizen, and all they shit that they think they own is in the name of the United States, utilizing those state ID cards, licenses, and social security numbers, then you putting yourself at risk by operating that because you are not the commander of that vehicle, nor do you have access to a declaration of the commander where you have access to use that vehicle. Meaning, are you a part of that trust? Because if you claim to be a Moor, you can no longer claim to be a part of the U.S. of the trust called U.S. citizen. That is a trust, and it got members. So you can't serve two masters. Just pick one. Either going to be yourself, and when you come at sea, you're going to be known. And there's no way of avoiding sea because sea is dealing everything with commerce, and commerce is dealing with international law. Trade deals with domestic. That means if I got my tribal brother and we are exchanging something between each other, that's trading. That's trading. Commerce is international. That's between other nations. Okay? So when I when I do business with my brother and sister, that's trading. When I'm doing business with foreigners, that's commerce. Thus, the reason why we have a treaty, which is international law, because it's dealing with commerce, admiralty, and maritime. Look up what admiralty and maritime mean. It means commerce. All right. So if we have a treaty of amity, meaning friendship, and commerce, so we can conduct business. You see what I'm saying? It only makes sense for us to line ourselves up so that we don't have to endure some of these problems that people, or I should say the slaves, are enduring based on the fact that they're not aware that they're under martial law. People aren't aware that this is martial law. It looks like everything's peachy, but it's really not. It's really not. It's the appearance that it is. So you stay complacent, but it is not. It's not what it appears. There's a veil on it. Okay? You got to be able to see. That's the treaty, man. You got to breathe in them trees. Oxygen. The more oxygen you get to your brain, the more neurons, the more nerves start firing off like pistons. More thoughts, more things start making sense, clicking. Breath, spirituality, breath. I'm not talking about spirituality, I'm talking about religion. But in order to put your religion into practice, you need to be spiritual. You need to start motherfucking breathing and start digesting your own information, because only you can interpret it. No one else can interpret your shit like you. No one else. This treaty is only made for you. It's only made for your eyes and your creativity and your comprehension and your way of seeing things. As an indigenous being, as a Moor, it's yours and yours alone. No one can take that from you. They could take everything else, Negro, Black, colored, African American, and they can name you some other shit. But when you say you are Moor, you are a national of this landmass known as America, because you have a bond with it. You're connected to it by what's pumping through your veins. Are you crazy? You crazy. Only way you supersede in that is if your powers is greater than the God Allah. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. All right. Don't give man power over you, God. You are the temple. This vessel is the temple where God dwells within. So saith the Lord. Islam. Now, let me finish off with this. It shall be made up by the payment of 100 Mexican dollars for each person wanting, and it is agreed that all persons shall be exchanged in 12 months from the time of their being taken, and that this exchange may be effected by a merchant or any other person authorized by either of the parties, meaning a delegated officer of the state. Now, what I will say is, don't wait no damn 12 months to go and retrieve your brother or sister. This is how my brain works, all right? I'm about problem solving. If someone is stuck or they've been taken, some crazy shit happened, they got taken. First thing is first. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Because I've dealt with this situation numerous of times. Sleeping, 3 a.m. in the morning. Yo, so-and-so got taken. Shit. I can't go back. I can't close my eyes and go back to sleep. You understand? So the only option is to get up, say, all right, where they're at. Okay, how much do we have? What can we put together just to get them out right now? Or seeing how we've been a little bit more experienced through the time, what would normally happen is we'll allow time to pass if they have court that next morning. Okay? This is before we started doing things properly in terms of functioning through our trust, in terms of traveling and all that. So we had some bumps in the road. far as me and my tribe goes. So normally if they have a court process going in that morning, there's no problem. Let them rock out. They'll they do their thing in the morning, which normally they get released on their own recognizance. And like I said, we have litigation in process, so certain things got to be ironed out. All right. But the mere fact that you have people coming to speak on your behalf says a lot. It means that you belong to a family. Okay? Family is everything in law, y'all. So, 17. Let's go to the right here. The merchant shall not be compelled to buy merchandise, but such as they like to buy by their free consent. Say that one more time. The merchant shall not be compelled to buy merchandise, but such as they like to buy by their free consent. The same rule is to be applied to sale, except in cases concerning where there have prevailed customs with other Christian nations before them, who carried them, what is them, the goods, in which cases there will be no difficulty. The meaning of the latter stipulation is not clearly expressed in the Arabic text. Let's see why. Where we at? 17. Merchants shall not be compelled to buy or sell any kind of goods, but such as they shall think proper, and may buy and sell all sorts of merchandise, but such as are prohibited to the other Christian nations. Read 17 again. The merchant shall not be compelled to buy merchandise, but such as they like to buy by their free consent. The same rule is to be applied to sale, except in cases concerning which they have prevailed customs with other Christian nations before them, who carried them, the goods. Okay, meaning they had contracts with previous Christian nations. Okay, in which cases there will be no difficulty. This goes back to Article 6. All debts and contracts entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid. So all this is saying is that the same rule is to be applied to sale, except in cases concerning which there have prevailed customs. Customs. What's customs, y'all? Let's look up customs real quick. I know me, I like my Black's Law Dictionary. Custom. What is custom? A usage or practice of the people which by common adoption and acquiescence and by long unfair habit has become compulsory and has acquired the force of a law with respect to the place or subject matter to which it relates. Let's go further down. Here. A law not written, established by long usage and the consent of our who? Ancestors. This treaty has the consent of our ancestors, y'all. So, let's go back right here. I'm going to go back here. Check it. Now, merchants shall not be compelled to buy merchandise, but such as they like to buy or by their free consent. The same rule is to be applied to sale, except in cases concerning which there have prevailed customs with other Christian nations before them who carried them. What? The goods. In which cases there will be no difficulty. Customs would be something like land. Okay, so there's no need to purchase land because we have prevailed customs with other Christian nations before them who carried them. What? The goods. Meaning they had what? They were holding on to the goods as trustees. In which case, there shall be no difficulty. If you're operating under a treaty, there shall be no difficulties. None. It's the supreme law of the land. What difficulties you talking about? What difficulties are you talking about? Right? 18 is that goods to be loaded shall be weighed and examined before they are brought on board, in order that the ship may not be detained because they have ascertained that there is contraband on board. Now, if this be the case, then only he who brought the contraband shall be punished, according to the usage applied to others before him. But the ship and its cargo and what belongs to it shall be free from guilt. Possibly the Arabic text extended to say what is said in the translation of 1786, but in that case the attempt has entirely failed. Thus there is no expression corresponding to unless of that translation. Let's see. 18. All goods shall be weighed and examined before they are sent on board, and to avoid all detention of vessels, no examination shall afterwards be made, unless it shall first be proved that contraband goods have been sent on board. You know what that means? In order for it to be proved, somebody got to make a statement under oath. It has to get signed by a judge. Then it has to be executed, then given to the executor, who probably be the cop or the sheriff or the state patrol. You see what I'm saying? Looking for the vehicle you are in specifically, right? Signed and sealed by the judge, who will be taking full responsibility if they fucked up. And what are they telling you here? All goods shall be weighed and examined before they are sent on board. Meaning, don't you examine your shit before you get into your car and go? You don't examine what you're going to bring, what you got to take. You don't look at the goods. Let's say if you're going to a potluck and you're bringing warm food, beautifully good smelling warm vegan food to the potluck. That's considered goods. You're transporting cargo. Okay, so you yourself weigh and examine your goods before you put them into your car and leave for your destination. Don't say you don't. That's a lie. Okay? So, and to avoid all detention on vessels, no examination shall afterwards be made, unless it shall be proved that the contraband goods have been sent on board, in which case the persons who took the contraband goods on board shall be punished according to the usage and custom of the country, and no other person whatever shall be injured, nor shall the ship or cargo incur any penalty or damage whatever. So even then, when someone in your tribe fucks up, and let's say something happened and they brought something on board that they're not supposed to be bringing, like a weapon, or like putting a cannon on the goddamn car, like just common sense things that would endanger public safety or would infright public safety. Okay? That's basically what they are saying. They're saying be responsible with your shit. And if you're not willing to be responsible, then your ass is liable to be punished. And if you are not under your own laws and tenets, the United States is more than happy to punish that ass. But either way, you got to be liable. So either your country, meaning your people, is going to take responsibility for your punishment, or foreigners will. Either way, accountability must be had. So this treaty, as you can see, is all about being accountable and responsible, being able to respond to situations, okay? And being able to relate to situations. Okay. 19, y'all. We're getting down to it. We're getting down to it. The 19th article requires no correction. So let's go here. No vessel shall be detained in port on any presence whatever, nor be obliged to take on board any article without the consent of the commander, who shall be at full liberty to agree for the freight of any goods he takes on board. So essentially, no vessel operating connected to this treaty shall be detained in port on any presence, nor be obliged to take on board any articles. It's up to the commander. If you're the caretaker of the vehicle, it's up to you who you want to let into the vehicle. It's up to you what you want to put into the vehicle to transport, or you need to get something somewhere, or you're traveling somewhere. You need to go do something. That's up to you. But the declaration of the commander, which is the articles of the organization, the trust indenture for your body politic, which the vehicle is in the name of, it shall not be detained in port on any presence whatever, because it's protected. It's protected underneath the treaty. Okay? 20. Last one, y'all. The 20th article is that if a person of our can only mean here the American. If a person of our American nation or under our flag is guilty of misdemeanor, the consul of his nation shall pass sentence upon him. Excuse me. If the consul wants the assistance of the officials of the pasha of the place, it shall be granted to him. Look at the translation, y'all. Number 20. Let me make sure I was 20. I was reading right here. Number 20. If any of the citizens of the United States or any person under their protection shall have any disputes with each other, the consul shall decide between the parties, and whenever the consul shall require any aid or assistance from our government to enforce his decisions, it shall be immediately granted to him. If we need help in deciding decisions. Okay? Only if. What is it saying right here? It's saying that Article 3, if you have any disputes with any citizens of the United States, they shall be dealt with in consular courts, dealing with the consuls. The consul shall decide between the parties. That's consular court. That's Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution. That's also United States Code Title 22, Chapter 2, Sections 141, 142, and 143, which is dealing with consular courts. So are you a consul? Is the question. And if you are a consul, for what government are you a consul of that you are representing? What are you representing that's greater than yourself? So this is what 20 is dealing with. Welcome to consular courts, y'all. And with the consular courts, the consuls, right, shall require any aid or assistance from our government. Meaning if the consul sees or seeks need of aid from the, let's say, governor, okay, or maybe the mayor, you know what I'm saying, to enforce his decisions, it shall be immediately granted to him. It shall be immediately granted to the consul because they have an obligation via treaty. Let's look up consul real quick. Consul. In Roman law, during the Republic, the name consul was given to the chief executive magistrate, two of whom were chosen annually. The office was continued under the empire, but its powers and prerogatives were greatly reduced. The name is supposed to have been derived from consulo, to consult, because these officers consulted with the Senate on administrative measures. Okay? So if we're consulting with the Senate on administrative measures of what? Maybe administrating an estate. Hey, we don't need you, the United States, to administer that anymore because we are of age now. We're of majority. We've reached maturity, so we're stepping up, taking our place in the affairs of men, and we'll be running our own estates from this day forth. That is a consul. And there you go. That's 10. That's from 10 to 20. We have the last 5 remaining family. Okay. And I can tell you now, part 3 of the series is where it's going to get really, really interesting. Because this is now when we're going to start covering consequences for wounding or killing Moors, and vice versa for Moors wounding or killing Christians. And also, why authenticate the birth certificate? Why put together the reversion of estate, where you're putting that estate, which was created for you when you were born, back into your ecclesiastical trust in your proper person. It covers a lot, but trust me, we're gonna get through that portion, family. Um, Word. Alrighty, fam. It's 5:20 p.m. I say I like to end that one on the 7. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, love y'all. Stay tuned for part 3, the finale of the treaty series. Um Thank y'all for y'all support. If you wish to hit me up and have any inquiries in terms of nationality and trust, getting yourself right, as well as it's helping you establish your own trust, getting yourself declared and nationalized on the record, or if you just want a group of Moors you're looking to just build with some like-minded people, become a private member of Sunnel University. So hit me up on the email, Sunnel University, that's SUUNELUNIVERSITY at gmail.com. If you're interested in becoming a private member, let me know. I'll send you the private member agreement. Um, like I said, donations are very affordable. I'm working with people because for me, the more I help, the more people I help, the more energy comes back to me. So that's the beautiful part about the reciprocity. So with that being said, family, love y'all. Islam. Enjoy your Thursday. Till next time. Peace.